Well, welcome everyone. Welcome back to Kitchen Table TCG. Welcome to a Crucible of War market update. That logo is wrong. We'll pop Crucible of War on there. I'd love to shout out my own thing, Patreon. If you are looking for a collection tracker, a way to manage your collection, track your collection, work out trades and stuff, head on over to KitchenTableTCG.com where I have a collection tracker, part of my Patreon. $5 a month gets you access to this. It's got all the cards in it. It's got values, all the values that I do in these videos. Update weekly whenever I do the stuff, and then you can see it tracks your value there at the bottom and on the front. And then I always love to shout out Mitch over at Midtown Merchant. Use the promo code Be Kind to save yourself $5 off your first order of $50 a month. $50 or more. Patrons, don't forget you get a 10% off code for Midtown Merchant every month as part of your deal here with Patreon. And then if you are buying singles, use my promo code that's in the description of my channel. It does give me a little kickback. It really helps support the channel. So let's talk about Crucible War. We're looking at around $1,340 for a box. Let's go ahead and look at where we were last week, where we kind of are this week. You can see we are losing a little bit of value, but as we pop up on eBay, you can also see there are sold listings kind of all over the place. It's a very interesting week for Crucible of the War sealed. I'm waiting for Rudy to pop in and start buying the dip like he said he would. So, you know, the thing is, you're seeing boxes selling for $12.75, but also $13.50. And then all of a sudden you have these weird sales, right, of like almost $1,700. Followed by an auction that ends at like $12.56. So the prices are kind of all over the place. If you are really a buyer, you might be able to get yourself a box around $12.50. If you're a seller, you might be able to even get up to $1,400. Kind of the median price, I would say, is more around the $1,340 that TCG Player has them at. So that's the price we'll go with. It's been soft 2 weeks in a row. No hard downward turn yet. We kind of have seen a spike in these in the last month, and now we're kind of flatlining, a little bit downward turn. But you can see that's kind of how Crew has always been, right? We had like a little spike up, and then kind of even, and then a spike up, and then we kind of dipped a little bit, and you can see it's kind of the way that the graph goes. So this will either lose some more value, or we'll see what happens in the next couple weeks if anybody enters the market to buy up the many that are on the market right now. What did TCG Player have? They have 18. But under, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 under 1,500, 7 under 1,500. That's not a ton of boxes under 1,500 TCG Player. I'm not sure what was on eBay. So anyway, let's move on over to the Fable. I'm seeing a lot of them being offered on Facebook for around 6,500, but not many of them moving at that price. So I'm not seeing them offered at less than that price. I think if you are a buyer, you could probably negotiate from the $6,500 range. If you're a seller, it seems like sellers are holding true to the $6,500 mark. And I have seen some people trading them for libraries, and earlier on the week, or 2 weeks ago maybe, they were trying to trade for libraries. I don't know, seems like a good deal when the library's kind of going down, to be honest. That being said, I would say around 6,500. You might be able to convince me that $6,000 is more of a selling point right now. But we'll see where those move, and there haven't been any public sales that I'm aware of on the marketplace. It's just offers that are like $6,500. So, all right, let's go to the legendaries. Big negative week for Cheyenne this week again, which that's 2 weeks in a row that it's lost over $1,000. That she's lost over $1,000. So this wasn't even a BGS 9, and it was like a pretty basic 9 too. If we pop it up and actually look at it, 9.95. And 8.5, I guess it's pretty weak on the surface. We'll use this for a new raw price, but I think if you had a raw one with these kind of grades with a surface of below a 9, you might be able to get a little bit higher. It's so hard. It's like, what do you want to do with these that are graded? It's so hard to determine, but the market is just soft with it right now. So we'll go $44,000 for raw. Last week we saw a 5,600 raw. We saw a 9 sell back in April for 6,600. This is a long time ago now, though. In Flesh and Blood world, this is a long time ago. This one also had an 8.5 though, so it's kind of like That's a weird one because it's an 8.5 on the centering and then everything else is 9.5. Anyway, that being said, you do with it what you will. Those are the sale prices. I try to use 9s depending on the grade. It just depends what it is. I've also seen 9s that have sold for more than the raw. So it depends on the buyer, depends on the seller. We'll throw in $4,000 based on the way that the market's been moving with Cheyenne and that sale. But kind of crazy. It was on the market for a decent amount of time too. All right, Spring Tunic, not really seeing any movement in it. Twinning Blade, there was one that sold on eBay for $1,600. There's also one that sold on TCG Player for $1,700. So I went with the $1,700 price, and then your average Legendary then is sitting at $2,091.67, which is an 18% loss. And you can see 3 weeks in a row of losses, 1 week of gains, and then another big loss. So Monarch has been rough on Crucible of War. Lots of people taking Crucible and turning it into Monarch. We'll see how that pans out for them in the future. Looking at the cold foils, the cold foil rares, honestly, a lot of them moving this week. I don't know if people are trying to pick up cards to play with Monarch cards or what's going on, but a lot of them moving this week. And your average is down a little bit, $7 from the last week. Your average cold foil rare at $213. But honestly, I thought they would have taken a much bigger hit this week when I was doing the data. Lots of them moving on eBay, lots of them moving on TCG Player, a lot of public sales of these. Kind of keeping up with Sedge Van Valheim still holding as this like expensive Crucible of War rare. It seems like it just one of them sells every couple weeks, and it's always higher priced than the other ones. Kind of interesting. And that being said, nothing else to write home about. Courage of Bladehold selling for $1,300 as we move on to these Majestics. This is a very important sale. I'll tell you why. This is the highest valued sale of a Courage of Bladehold raw that we've seen ever. I mean, if you pop it up, that is the highest value sale that we've seen ever on a Crucible, on a Courage of Bladehold. Sitting at $1,300 for that first edition Crucible of War Courage of Bladehold right there. So I thought that was really interesting, really significant in the marketplace. If you are one of those people who owns one of those, that's a big sale. So that being said, the rest of them kind of the same thing. Bloodsheath Skeleton moving for just over $1,000 as well. Those seem to be the ones that are moving the right direction. Metacarpus Node dropping to $579. That was a sale on eBay. Gambler's Glove moving up to $900. Puts your average Majestic is actually up this week. Courage of Bladehold had a big part in that. I will say that there was a Courage that sold in a Facebook auction group that was less. I think it sold for like $980 or something like that. But, there weren't that many people in the auction group. It's not really a market. There's only 350 people in that group, I think. I don't want to call that like a market price as the larger market. One was available on eBay and it got picked up for $1,300. So take with it what you will. I'm just trying to give you transparency to how I'm doing these numbers. The largest market wins in my mind. So that's how I'm going for it. So Courage of Bladehold at $1,300. You can see then we have a 4% increase in the Majestic in all the cold foils. But don't forget, like some of those are going down. Like there is negative pressure on a lot of the cards this week, even though this is up 4%. I mean, this was a big sale. This was a big sale. Just keep that in mind. So let's look at the Majestic rainbow foils. So we're down 2 weeks in a row, almost double digits both weeks. So 9% we're down here. Spoils of War. There's an interesting one that sold on eBay. I actually meant to pop this up for like $80. Spoils of War Crucible. Kind of an interesting sale. There was also one that sold for more than that. So there's one that sold for $225, and then 2 days ago there was one that sold for $70 on an auction. But it was one of these weird ones where there's like two interactions of the auction, and $70 seems incredibly low. In my opinion, a $70 Spoils of War would be an insta sale in just about any market if you listed it. This also seemed high in terms of like based on the other ones. So what I've done is I think there was one on on TCG Player for 190 in light play. So because of these other ones that sold for lower, I just went with 165 and I put it in red to let you know that I don't know what to do with it. So just trying to be transparent. Again, there are some available on TCG Player for under this price that sold for 225. There's some available for like the 190s. So just know that and keep that in mind. Other than that, a lot of the same that we've seen the last couple weeks. We're seeing some of the Ranger cards dip a little bit. We're seeing some of the Runeblade cards going up a little bit. Just kind of all these things based on Monarch, the way that it works and the way that things are affecting things. There was a Gorganian Tome that should be in green that sold on eBay for 190 on that Gorganian Tome rainbow foil. That sold for 190 if we pick up there on eBay. This was a best offer that was accepted. It was not an auction. So, that being said, let's move on over to the Majestics. In the side on the Majestics, we were seeing a little bit of downwards pressure on those two, but there were some interesting things like a Gambler's Glove on TCG Player popping up to 125. Bloodshed Skeleton holding at the 115. Courage of Bladehold, the non-foil, actually down to 190. There's a lot of movement in these cards. It's going to be interesting to see how Unlimited affects it. Historically with WTR and Arcane, Unlimited did not affect anything. So that's my gut of what will happen. That's what I've been telling people when they ask. But that being said, there is some downwards pressure. My guess is it's more due to Monarch than it is to Unlimited. Your average Majestics at $49. Rainbow foils. Remember, I just used TCG low on the rainbow foil rares and the commons. Why is that not moving? That does this every week. It's so weird. So your Majestic rainbow foils, your common rainbow foils are sitting at 43% up. Cracked Bauble being a huge one. This was actually a sold listing on Cracked Bauble at $92. Lots of movement on some of those. A lot of people picking up some stuff in rainbow foils. So up 43% is massive. A lot of that is, again, due to that Cracked Bauble. The rare rainbow foils, I don't know why we skipped that. I must have hit the wrong button, but rare rainbow foils, your hero is still holding a lot of value here, but nothing's really moving. It's just everything's holding steady. We lost a little value last week. Now everything's holding steady at an average around $15.48. Your rares, everything's about the same. I mean, nothing's changed radically on the rare side. That is not Dragonite today. Oh my gosh, this is a mess. Whose channel is this? All right, so $2.52 for those rares. So let's pop over to the EV calculation. Just a reminder of what you kind of get per box. You're going to get one cold foil, and this has broken this down that you are twice as likely to get a cold foil common or cold foil rare as a cold foil Majestic. So this calculates that out. So your cold foil is going to get you around $282. You're going to get 6 Majestics, 2 foil Majestics, 41 rares, 5 foil rares, 1 in 10 boxes in Crucible War has a legendary, 1 in 40 boxes has the Arknight Shard. That puts you, if you open 40 boxes, right now your average would be around $1,210 per box. If you don't hit a legendary, don't hit the Fable, you'd be looking more at $838 per box. If you hit a Majestic cold foil without the legendary or the Fable, you'll actually be up at $1,335 a box. But if you hit a rare cold foil and no legendary and no Fable, you're only sitting at $769. And then if you own a master set of this, which is one of every cold foil, one every rare, one every non-foil, just one of each, you'd be sitting at $27,333. Let's take a look at where this calculates out. So we need to pop in 1210.45. And when we pop in 1210.45 right here, we're going to be down 1210.45. We'll actually be down quite a bit, I think, this week. Down 5% again, which is a lot. That's 2 weeks in a row that we've been down as well. Let's look at the top 10 cards that have gained or lost value. Gaze the Ages Rainbow Foil Majestic up 47%. The Courage of Bladehold up 35%. And Arg Smash actually up 34% as well. Looking at the non-foil gainers, Gambler's Gloves, Metacarpus Node, 2 of the equipments there, and then Find Center. Gambler's Gloves up the most at 48%. Let's move on to the cards that lost the most value. Gorganian Tome, that weird sale at 190 pushes this card down for 44%. Now, again, I would not sell a Gorganian Tome at 190. I'm not advocating that you do that. I'm just sharing you the market data. Unified Decree is down 40%. Heron's Flight is down 35%. A lot of the Majestic foils are actually down this week. And then the non-foil losers, Gaze the Ages, Courage of Bladehold, and Unified Decree, all down around 20%. So that's that. That's Crucible of War. Again, your EV here sitting at 1210. If you're buying boxes to open, just be careful. This is finally happening in Crucible War, where the EV is starting to be different than the box prices. So either the box prices are too high, or the singles are too low, or really the truth is that sealed box prices will always have a premium, in that it's weird when box prices are lower and you have arbitrage that should not be the same. So the market has corrected itself. In my mind, this is all if box prices are $13.40, these values should be pretty accurate based on a little bit less for sealed, or a little bit more for sealed box. That being said, hope you all have a good day. Remember that I've got a collection tracker over at patreon.com/KitchenTableTCG, and you can buy cards over at Midtown Merchant. And don't forget to use my promo code. The link is in the description. Hope you guys have a good day. Remember to be kind to the people around you.